Over on page 50. Understand that images are mental pictures that are made from thoughts. And the magnificence of the mind lies in the fact that it can think. That is to say, it can tap into thought and create whatever image you choose. It's such a beautiful thing to know. Look at. You are surrounded by a spirit world. Thoughts are omnipresent. Spirit's omnipresent, so are thoughts. And you can think anything you want. Do you know what the real problem is? People spend more time thinking that way about themselves than they do that way. They never really delve into the truth of the power that they've got locked up in their marvelous mind. And they've got the ability to choose to build any picture here they want. Now, if they don't like the results, if you don't change the results are going to stay the same. And that is the problem with most people. They keep gathering more knowledge up here, but they never change the image that they've impressed here. And what does the power do? The power gives you exactly what you asked for. That's what you're asking for. People that I spend a lot of time with, I spend a lot of time attempting them to stop thinking of why something won't work. I'm not remotely interested in why it won't work. Now, are there times when it's fairly obvious why something won't work? Absolutely. Are there things wrong legitimately? Absolutely. But you have the ability to choose your perception of the situation. You don't have to look at why it won't work. You don't have to look at what's wrong. You can look at whatever you want. We've got to see ourselves as a person that can make it happen regardless of what the hell's going on outside. It's like Napoleon. He said, circumstance, hell I make them. Flip over onto page 52. Now the bottom two paragraphs, Columbus imaged a new world, and you and I are living in it. The Wright brothers imaged us being propelled through the air and introduced us to a new kingdom. Samuel Morse imaged himself interrupting the flow of energy through metallic wires and gave us the telegraph, the Morse code. Copernicus imaged a multiplicity of worlds, and now we've been there. Throughout the years, history has recorded the results of great visionaries. In fact, everything ever accomplished was at first, and for a time, nothing more than an image held in the mind of the architect. Realize now that you too are the mental architect of your own destiny. Copernicus, the Wright brothers, Samuel Morse, Marconi, none of them had anything going for them that you haven't got going for you. What do I say in the seminar? Most people are extras in their own movie. They look at the star and they think, wow. Wow. Go to the mirror and say, wow. You got to start acting like the person you want to become. Flip over to page 53. In the middle paragraph, we say, in the previous paragraph, I made reference to the statement by Wallace Wattles. There is a thought stuff that permeates and penetrates and fills the inner spaces of the cosmos. In truth, there is a thought stuff everywhere around you and within you. So become aware of this truth and tap into it now. Use it to form an image on the screen of your mind. See yourself already in possession of the amount of money you want to provide the things you need to live the style you choose to live. You got to see yourself already there. You can't see yourself working toward it. That's what 95% are doing. You see yourself already there. On page 55, right at the top of the page, persistence is the key. Continue to hold the picture of personal prosperity and understand that is what is happening to you. It's what must happen to prepare you to receive the good you desire. You'll never receive the good you desire if you're not prepared for it. You just won't. If you're not living on that frequency, it'll go right past you, Jack. You're not going to get it. Down the next paragraph, I quote Napoleon Hill, where he said, there may be no heroic connotation to the word persistence, but the quality is to the character of the human like what carbon is to steel. Over in page 60, third paragraph from the bottom. I went to a church service one time out in Santa Ana, California. Philip Nicola was the minister. I went over and met him afterwards because I was impressed with him. He said something I will never forget. He said, keep your mind on a higher image rather than a lower concern. I know there's things out there that are wrong, but what the hell? If you can't change them, why focus on them? Keep your mind on a higher image rather than a lower concern. You might write that out on something because that is very powerful. On page 67, second paragraph from the bottom, we have in the introduction to this book, and then again in the first chapter, we emphasize the fact that no amount of reading or memorizing is going to make you successful in life. It's the understanding and application of wise thoughts that count. Understanding and application are the keys which unlock the doors to abundance for you. Remember, I pointed out worry and doubt are over here. It's looking at that side of life. What's the opposite of worry and doubt? Understanding. Solomon said, in all you're getting, get understanding. And there's only one way of getting understanding. Study. There is no other way of getting it. I spend a lot of time doing two things. One, studying, and two, thinking. I'm forever thinking of a better way to do what I do. I'm forever thinking of how can we do more in a shorter period of time. Now, hopefully this was sent out to you. There's a page here. Creative people see things not as they are, but as they could be. You and I are creative people. We don't see things as they are. We see things as they could be. They live in a third mode of language, the language of hope, of future, of imagination. They are found in every walk of life, not just the arts, advertising, inventing, and so on. Some of them earn their livelihoods through their creativity. Others create just for the fun of it. Far more people are genuinely creative than you might suspect. I left grade 8 Last year, public school, Miss Strawn was a beautiful lady. She said, Bob, where are you going to go? And I said, I'm going to Melbourne Collegiate. Oh, Bob, don't go there. You'll never do well in business, Bob. Go to Danforth Tech, get a trade. Well, I went to Danforth Tech, but I never did get a trade. I lasted 2 months and away I was gone. You see, the great thing about using your mind creatively is that this ability improves with age. It's one of the great compensations for growing older. Every year of experience adds to the fund of possible combinations for newer and better ideas. God, I love that. The American moral and social philosopher Eric Hoffer, I had the great pleasure of working with him. God, he was a wonderful man. He pointed out that throughout history, the great creative geniuses and innovators have been quite young. And the older people who head various industries today were themselves tremendously creative when they were young and just getting started. And the latter individuals are even more creative today if they haven't let the status quo sneak up on them and harden their channels of creativity. You know, I was thinking as I'm saying that, retirement is probably one of the worst things that can happen to a person. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're on a job and you can retire at a certain age, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take that retirement. Go do something else, something different. You're capable of doing anything, but don't just sit back and wait to get in the box, for God's sake. Consider today how you might operate with more creative intelligence, using the powers of your imagination to better your life and the lives of those around you. Now, I have a piece of literature that I use often. Thomas Troward wrote it in the Doré Lectures on Mental Science. Genevieve Behrend copied it into the book she wrote, The Creative Process. You have a copy of it, I think. I'm going to read it through and then come back and look at it. The mind is the center of divine operation. The mind is the center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. And this means the production of something beyond what has gone before, something entirely new, not included in the past experience, though proceeding out of it by an orderly sequence of growth. Therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner within me. Consequently, in my own special world, of which I am a center, it will move forward to produce new conditions, always in advance of any that has gone before. Now, what is the ultimate objective of this particular seminar? I'm going to tell you what it is. And I'm going to tell you something else. High percentage of people that go through this seminar do not do what I'm going to suggest. Do not. Spiritual world. Your objective is to go here with your imagination and tap into the thoughts that are here, this energy that's here, this pure, unadulterated, creative energy that's here, that is flowing into your consciousness, and build the picture, the detailed picture of exactly how you want to live. That's the objective of this. To go to spirit and build the picture of what is. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I have learned is absolute truth. That's spirit outside. Here's spirit inside. If you go to spirit and build the picture, then turn the picture back over to spirit, it will give it back to you. The reciprocal law of spirit gives it back to you in physical form. Go to spirit to build the picture. You turn it back to spirit, and it'll give it back to you in physical form. That's the reciprocal law of spirit. Now, what is he saying here? My mind is a center of divine operation. Underline the word a. My mind is a center. See, in everything, there's just one center. In this studio here, there's one center. I wouldn't know how to find it, but if I get a hold of the architect, he could probably tell me how to find it. If I have a basketball in my hand, there's one point in that basketball that's centered, just one point. And that's determined by the out of the ring of the ball. Here he's saying, my mind is a center. That would indicate there's more than one center in the divine operation. If my mind is a center, and you read it and you say, my mind is a center, Scott reads it and he says, my mind is a center, we're all right. You see, when there's no outer ring, any point center. You're dealing with infinite. When you're dealing with spirit infinite, now you're not going to conceive what that means. That's way beyond your ability to think. The divine operation's always for expansion and fuller expression. And this means the production of something that's gone beyond what's gone before. Something entirely new, not included in past experience, or proceeding out of your past experience by an orderly sequence of growth. Now think. This means the production of something, since the divine, it's always for expansion and fuller expression. That means the production of something beyond what's gone before. It's not included in your past experience. You're creating a you that no one has ever seen. You're creating a world that you have never, ever before lived in. You can go to spirit and you have the ability to do that. We've been created in God's image. We've got creative faculties. This is absolutely huge when we think about it. Do you know the problem with most people? They do not build the picture. They don't sit down, take a pen, and write out exactly how they want to live. They don't do it. We give you pages right in the beginning. We ask you to write out an image. You know, your professional life, relationships, health, well-being, spousal and parenting, if it applies. Most people don't do it. They don't do it. I'm going to tell you, I did it. I did it. I dictated the kind of shoes, suit, kind of ties, how I would cut my hair, how I'd walk. I had an image of the whole thing. I still walked like Donnie Miller's dad did shortly after he had a heart attack. Donnie Miller's dad lived down the street from me. He had a heart attack. It was during the Second World War. He was one of the few dads that was home. And I'd watch him walking up the street in a very relaxed manner. And when I was building an image of myself, I built an image of myself. I could see myself walking. You'll very rarely see me running or rushing anywhere. Do I? On occasion. Not very often. I built the image how I'd dress, what I'd wear. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't give a damn what the styles are. I dress the way I want to dress. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't make any difference to me. I cut my hair and comb my hair the way I want to comb my hair. I don't care what the styles are. I love the song, I Did It My Way. Well, that's what Troward's suggesting here. It says, therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner within me. What he's saying, how does it operate? The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. The higher side of your personality, it's always for expansion and fuller expression. Are you denying it? This means the production of something beyond what has gone before. You got to do something beyond anything you've done before. Something entirely new, not included in your past experience. I watch the sales sheets in our own company. Do you know the sad truth? You can usually be pretty accurate in predicting who's doing what. Not much change. I remember Nate Conant. Same thing. Until we got into this, same thing improves. We get into this. It's the people who really start to study it. You study this, your results have to change. Because if you keep studying, you're going to have to do it. This means a production of something beyond what's gone before, something entirely new, not included in past experience, though proceeding out of your past experience by an orderly sequence of growth. See, everything that's ever happened right up to this point, all the wins and losses, everything that's happened has been absolutely essential to get you to where you are, to prepare you to do what you're going to do. It's all in consciousness. It's all what you're aware. I love the way Neville wrote, everything's already created. Your trick is to become aware of its presence. Lay claim to it. Why they say in my Father's house are many mansions. Everything's already created. Therefore, since the divine cannot change its inherent nature, it must operate in the same manner within me. Consequently, in my own special world of which I am the center, it will move forward to produce new conditions always in advance of any that's gone before. Listen, you've got to admit, that is one beautiful piece of literature. Yet it's all true and it's about you. If you burn that into your mind. I keep telling you what I do because I'm no different than you. I'll tell you something I really do. I don't pay attention to what the hell anybody's doing. I don't care what anybody's doing. You see, I figured it out many, many years ago, back in the 60s probably, that if there's only about 5 out of 100 winning, I'm going to be around a lot of people that aren't winning. And some of those people, I probably love them. I'm going to be working with them. So if I start paying attention to the people that I'm surrounded by, probably a number of them don't know what they're talking about or are going to give me bad information. And I think I made a decision. I don't care what they do. I'm going to do what I do. Now, every time I made a change, I was criticized for it. But after a period of time, they come and said, "Geez, I got to correct that." Think. Now, there's a piece of literature here that I give you. It's called The Effortless Way. The principle of least action governs everything in physics from the path of a planet to the path of a pulse of light. Least action is the minimum of energy multiplied by the minimum of time. Therefore, in moving from your present state to the state desired, you must use minimum energy and take the shortest possible time. For you to turn that into results, moving from your present state to the state desired, you must use minimum energy and take the shortest possible time. Your journey from one state of consciousness to another, it's a psychological one. So to make your journey, you must employ the psychological equivalent of least energy. And the psychological equivalent is mere assumption. Just assume it. You assume it. Pretty cool. Now, the intellects will say, well, wait a minute, you just can't assume it. I mean, you got to face reality. You know, that stops most people. It doesn't stop me at all. I just say a quiet prayer for the person because I know they're really hung up on it, and then I'll get on about my business. Let me tell you what reality is. When you build the picture here and plant it here, that is moving into form. You've already got it. It's only a matter till it moves into form. That's called the perpetual transportation of energy, one of the first laws of the universe. The image is in here. It must manifest there. You know, you have difficulty, conscious concern about what other people think. You're acting like you've got to quit kidding yourself, Proctor. You haven't got it. Okay. Assumption. The day you fully realize the power of assumption, you discover that it works in complete conformity with this principle. It works by means of attention minus effort. Love it. Thus, with least action, through an assumption, you hurry without haste. You reach your goal without effort. Because creation is finished, what you desire already exists. Beautiful. And God created the heavens and the earth. And on the seventh day he rested. It was all done. Everything was finished. What you desire already exists. Now somebody's saying, well, that's not what it means. That's exactly what it means. What you desire already exists. The next page, it is excluded from view because you can see only the contents of your own consciousness. How do we raise our level of conscious understanding? Through study. There isn't any other way. I was in here early this morning studying. Before I came here, I was at home studying. I study all the time. I eat all the time too. I shower and shave and wash all the time. I get dressed all the time. These are things I do all the time. They're called habits. It's part of my habitual nature. I would recommend you do the same thing. It's excluded from view because we can only see the contents of our own consciousness. It is the function of an assumption to call back the excluded view and restore full vision. It is not the world, but your assumption that's change. An assumption brings the invisible into sight. It is nothing more nor less than seeing with the eye of God. Your imagination. The imagination is the eye of God. For the Lord seeth not as a man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks upon the heart. Do you know, this lesson, if you will do it, sit down, take your pen, and write it out. Every word. How you want to walk, how you want to talk, what you want to earn, where do you want to live, how do you want to live. Put it all out in front of you. And then be grateful because you have it. And you act like you've already got it. Whew. That's the way to live. The heart is the primary organ of sense, hence the first cause of experience. When you look on the heart, you're looking at your assumptions. Assumptions determine your experience. Watch your assumption with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Assumptions have the power of objective realization. Every event in the visible world is the result of an assumption or idea in the unseen world. The present moment is all important. For it is only in the present moment that our assumptions can be controlled. The future must become the present in your mind if you would wisely and operate the law of assumption. You've got to make the future the present. This is not how I'm going to be. This is how I am. I am that I am. The future must become the present in the mind if you would wisely operate the law of assumption. The future becomes the present when you imagine that you already are what you will be when your assumption is fulfilled. Be still and know that you are that which you desire to be. The end of longing should be being. Therefore, your dream into being, perpetual construction of future states without the consciousness of already being them. That is, picturing your desire without actually assuming the feeling of that which is fulfilled, is fallacy and mirage of mankind. It is simply futile daydreaming. You see, you have to understand the creative process. When you understand the creative process, when you understand that, number one, you've got to consciously build the idea here. Number two, you plant the idea there. Number three, the second you plant it, it instantly becomes expressed with and through the body. You see, when you plant the idea here, the body changes its vibration. As the body changes its vibration, conscious awareness is feeling. You just feel so good because you are that which you created in your mind. God gave you the same as he gave me. Gave the person beside you the same. It's the same everywhere. The part you have to work on. You have to work on it diligently. Is writing out who, what you want to be, and then being it. I was thinking earlier this morning about this lesson, and I was thinking, you know, we are programmed. The paradigm is so deep with the idea of worrying about what they think of me. It stops us from acting like the person we want to become. You have to act like the person you want to become. That was William James's theory from Harvard way back in 1900. The actor's technique. Act like the person you want to become. Well, we have it so deeply embedded in our subconscious. We're so concerned with what people think of us that we prevent ourselves from acting like the person we want to become. See, all the people know what we're like, and if I build this new image and I start acting like that new image, you know. If you look at most seminars today, the seminar leader will maybe have a black t-shirt or just a sweater or something. That's not my image of me. This is my image. I got to wear a suit. Why? Because that's the image. You're going to make a decision. You don't give a damn what anybody else thinks of you. Now that's pretty strong, but you've got to get to the point where you do not give a damn what anybody else thinks of you. Your concern should be what you think of you. Now, put the screen back up. Let's look at this. Here we are here. So we've got this image of ourselves. That's an image of ourselves. And we see if this is what I really want. You know, I get people to repeat what they want, repeat it over and over and over and over and over. But don't think by repeating it's going to happen down the road. It's not something you're working towards. is something you've already got it. It's present tense. You got to see yourself with it. Then you've got to get emotionally involved with it. You see, it's the feeling that's so important. Why is the feeling so important? Feeling is conscious awareness of the vibration you're in. That's what feeling is. So when you repeat this and you feel like you're already there, you put yourself in that vibration. Now, if you're in that vibration, what do you attract? You attract whatever is required for the manifestation of the image you're emotionally involved with. You set up an attractive force. That's the way it works. I've had a couple of situations where people have contacted me in the last few days and talked about things that happened that have been really sort of wild, that they've attracted. Why did they attract it? This is what they're doing. Now, I don't know what it is you want, but I do know this. If you build the image of yourself already with it, and you get emotionally involved so you feel like you'd feel by already having it, you physically move into that vibration. That's going to dictate your actions. And it's your actions that dictate your results. It's just the way it works. But it also dictates what you attract. Now, granted, the guys you're working with, the people you're with, they know you the way you are now. You're now physically, they know, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the house you live in, the money you earn. That's what they know. They're living through their senses. And your paradigm could have you living through your senses. You say, well, this is sort of silly thinking and acting when you mean you haven't got it. And you know something? If you think that's silly because you haven't got it, you're never going to get it. You're going to act like the person you want to become. Listen, you build the picture here. You get emotionally involved with it. The law that causes this to move into physical form results is the law of perpetual transmutation. That law decrees that whatever image you impress instantly and automatically begins to move into form. You see it outside. Go outside on a nice clear day, you look up into the sky and you'll see a white cloud start to form. And then that make it a little dark, and the cloud starts to turn heavy and gets black maybe, and water comes from it. There's the energy moving into form. Now, this is so super important. When you start to realize there's the three lessons here. My mind's the center. That means that you are God's highest form of creation. Scott mentioned something earlier. He said the image you're operating with right now is a lie. That's not who you are. You're God's highest form of creation. You're not acting like it, so you're living a lie. You got to start to live the truth. The truth is, no one knows what you're capable of. When we talk about our mind being the center, now Genevieve Behrend, she used that particular piece of literature. She memorized that, and that's what got her to be Thomas Troward's only student. I have a book here, conversation that she had with Troward, and she was his only student. She had to attract $20,000. That's back in 1912. She studied with him from 1912 to 1914. And this came out of the Dory lectures, this particular paragraph, and she memorized that. I memorized it years ago. My mind's the center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. See, I know that there's a power within me that wants to express itself in a greater way. I want to do more. I want to do better. I was talking to Phil Goldfine yesterday. He may be on the call. I don't know if he is. But I was talking to Phil yesterday. Phil pulls this off as well as anybody I know. He acts like the person he wants to become. He's not really overly concerned what anybody else thinks. And he's doing something in his industry that's never been done before. Never, never. In the entire history of the movie making industry, he's doing something he's never done before. You know why? He's doing what I'm talking about here. I've been working with Phil for 20 years. Phil, if I tell him to do something, he does exactly what I tell him. I was telling Phil yesterday, I said, Phil, I think you ought to go away for a couple of hours and sit and play a little mental game with yourself. I said, if you went back to when Jack Warner was, really rocking and rolling in Hollywood, you go back to, I don't know, the 40s, late 40s, early 50s maybe, as Warner Brothers, were very big. Well, I said, he was doing things that hadn't been done before. He was making breakthroughs. So here we're still talking about him in 2020. And that goes back to 1940. I said, 50 years from now, people are going to be talking about what you're doing, because what you're doing is so different. I said, I think it'd be a good idea if you went away for a couple hours and mentally projected yourself ahead maybe 50 years. We go up to 2070, and you look back to 2020. Now, you haven't got any idea what we'd be living like in 2070, but it would be a different world we're in. And look back at 2020, at what you were doing. Because people are going to be talking about you 50 years from now, same as I'm talking about Jack Warner almost 100 years ago. So think, what are you capable of? You are the center of everything. All there is, all the power, everything, you're the center of it. There's as much power to your right as there is to your left. There's as much in front of you as there is behind you. There's as much above as below. It's infinite. You have infinite power that operates in a very exact way. It never changes. If I let this go, it's going to go down. You know that. Let this mouse fall, it's going to go down. That's a law of the world. We're talking about laws of the universe. They're exact. Werner von Braun knew that. That's why it took him about 10 seconds to answer John Kennedy when President Kennedy said, what would it take us to build a rocket that will carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth? In about 10 seconds, he says, the will to do it. Well, I don't know what you want, but I do know this. That's all you need is the will to do it. What is the will? The will is the ability. The will is a mental faculty that holds the picture that you built with your imagination on the screen of your mind. Hold the picture on the screen of your mind. Hold the picture of who you are. That's who you are now. You got to get to a point you don't give a damn what anybody else thinks. What they think, that's their business. Doesn't matter what they think of you. I hope you like me. If you don't, that's okay. You should. I'm a nice guy. Pretty generous guy, good guy. I help most anybody. But if you don't like me, that's your problem. It's not my problem. I do like me. Now, I can remember when I first picked up this book, it was very important you liked me. So it didn't matter who you were. I would just adapt to whatever you think was right. I'd say, yeah, I agree with that. Even when I didn't even know what they were talking about. I don't go there anymore. I don't live there anymore. That guy's gone. Long gone. Long gone. I'm writing a foreword for a book. It's a damn good book by Lisa Jimenez. And I don't really know Lisa that well. She's written a couple of books, and I've endorsed a couple of books for her. I'm going to write the foreword for this book for her. And if Lisa walked in the room, I might not know her. But I've communicated with her often. And there's a funny story attached to Lisa and myself. We were both at a function one time where there was dancing. And she came over and asked me to dance, and I said, no. She said, no? Why not? I said, because I don't want to dance. So I'm not going to dance. I think she was a little taken back with it, but, that's the way it was. And I don't think she was overly happy about it. Go ahead, I don't know, months, years, a couple of years maybe. Another time, I was doing a seminar, and I found out Lisa was in the room. So I was telling the story. I said, you got to live the way you want to live. I said, I remember a girl come and asked me to dance one time, and I just said, no. She said, why? I said, because I don't want to. I think she was a little upset about it, but Now, I think I owe that girl a dance, so I'm going to call her up. She's here. Come on up on the stage, Lisa. And so Lisa came up on the stage, they put some music on, and I danced with her. It was just a bit of a joke. But you see, the joke was, if I didn't want to do it, why do it? Why are you doing stuff you don't want to do? You know what you're doing? You're doing it to please other people. You're doing it to please unpleasant people so they will be pleased with you. Have you any idea how much of that goes on? You're not living the way you want to live. What do you really want to do? Get the picture. He said, determined imagination, thinking from the end, is the beginning of all miracles. Thinking from the end is an intense perception of the world of fulfilled desire. It's already happened. You see it happening in your mind. That's what the great athletes do. Remember Milt Campbell telling me, God bless him, he's gone now, but Milt went to Australia to compete in the Olympics in 52, I think. Yeah. And Rayford Johnson was there. He was also competing in the decathlon. And Rayford said to Milt, Milt, what do you think is going to happen? Milt said, Rayford, you wasted your time coming here. He said, this one's mine. And it was. He won the gold there. He had held that picture in his mind for 4 years. Every day he kept living with that picture. What picture have you got in your mind? You know, if somebody starts working with me, one of the first things I ask them is, well, what's the most you've ever earned in a year? I don't care what the answer is, but I'd like to know the answer. And when I know what the answer is, then I know where their paradigm is set. Now, if they're going to work for me, I'm going to want them to change their paradigm because I want them to earn more money. I want them to be more productive. Now, there's no end to what you can do. I think if you tie these lessons together, here's the one, determined imagination, thinking from is a great miracle of life. Thinking from the state desired is creative living. Ignorance of this ability to think from the end is bondage. It is the root of all bondage with which man is bound. 90% are bound with it. They're living through their senses. They have no idea that they have these higher faculties. They don't know. You've got the imagination, the will, reason, memory, intuition. What's the other one? Intuition, memory, reason, will, imagination. We got all these great powers. Thinking from the end. Keep reading this. My mind is a center of divine operation. God's all there is. Where's God? God's everywhere. They'll say, well, God's in heaven. Where's heaven? Up there. Everywhere. Seek ye first this kingdom in its righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. Think. You are the center. You are God's highest form of creation. I don't care whether you're black or white or yellow or thin or fat or short or tall, male, female, none of that matters. You are God's highest form of creation. And if you build the picture in your mind and you follow the rules, you work by law, you'll hold it in your hand. Listen, if I can earn millions of dollars, anybody can earn millions of dollars. If I can learn how to do this, anybody can learn how to do this. I was talking to a lady earlier this morning. She just started to do this. She became a consultant with our company just last November. She's $1,000 short of earning $3 million this year. And she doesn't think it's that big of a deal, and it's not. That's what she sent. That's what she's getting. My mind is a center of divine operation. God within. You're God's highest form of creation. I know you may have screwed up in the past, but that's okay. Something entirely new, not included in your past experience, those proceeding out of your past experience by an orderly sequence of growth. You are growing in an orderly way. Studying this, the time you spend, the energy put into this, the greatest thing that ever happened to you. My life is just an example of what this will do for you. I remember sitting down with Sandy, God, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And I was pretty excited because she is a pretty sharp lady. I mean, she really understands money. And she was a securities attorney, bought and sold banks. And I thought, man. And I started to think, where could we go? I said, there's no end to where we could go. And we would talk about things we'd do. You know something, we're doing them. We are all over the world today. We help millions of people. There's no end to what you can do. Two people, Sandy and I got together, brought our mind together in a partnership and supported each other. We had to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Didn't bother us. There was problems. You're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. You got to live with it. But you got to live with the picture. You see, when I sat in that room on Maplewood Lane, it was a little room. It wasn't very big. When you walk in my front door, you turn to your left, and you go into this little room. You turn right, and you go into a living room, the front room. And I get in this little den. There was a chair here on one side, and there was a little love seat there, and then a little desk at the end. I used to sit in there with my pen, and I'd dream, and I'd make things. And I was sitting there by myself, 1963 or 73. I said, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. Now, you see, by then I had gathered a lot of information. I knew quite a bit about this. But that was 1973. I've learned an awful lot since then. And you know the one thing I made up my mind? Nothing would knock me off course. Didn't matter what happened. I am staying focused. I say, stick to your knitting. Do what you're good at. Don't be distracted by shiny objects. Focus on where you want to go. That's all I've done. We're in 89 countries. This works. It works like unadulterated magic. Your mind is a center. You're the center of spirit. That's all there is. And the person beside you is in the same position. We're all exactly the same. We look different, we sound different, but we are all exactly the same. We're made from the same formless substance. Take us and throw us all in a damn good fire. We're all reduced to the same level. What do you want? You can get it through least action, assumption. You see, when you assume it, you've got it, then it's a matter of it moving into form. You've got it here on a conscious level. You've got it here on an emotional level. And because you feel that way, that's the vibration, and that's what you're going to act. That's what you're going to do. And it's also what you're going to attract. How long will it take for that to move into physical form? No one knows. But we do know it's moving into form right now. It's always happening. There's all kinds of stuff going on that you cannot see. This is so important. You're God's highest form of creation. You're surrounded by power. You think from the end. We've been taught to work toward the goal. Work from the goal. Just 50 feet from the studio is my home. We're having the house rebuilt. They've ripped everything out inside, and they're putting a second story on it. They're making fabulous headway. Do you know, all of those people up there working, they're working toward a particular end. They've got the end in their mind. That dictates where this board goes, where that goes, and where this goes. And they're taking everything and they're putting it in place to manifest the picture they've got in their mind. It was all on paper, and they do it. They're working from the end. It looks like they're working to the end. No, they're working from the end. Be it. Be it. Don't say you're going to do it. I am.